The 2023 NFL Draft is upon us. On April 27, 2023, 259 talented young men will soon learn where they will start their dream of playing in the National Football League. Who will go where is anyone's guess, but here at Sports Sensei, we'll predict the first 10 picks of this year's draft. If you like our content, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. Number 1 goes to the Panthers, Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama. A big topic of conversation has been where Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young would end up. We've all seen the plays he's capable of making. Carolina needs an athletic quarterback to kickstart their struggling offense. Even though Bryce Young is only 6 feet tall and 194 pounds, he's been compared by some to the NBA's Steph Curry in the way that he can seemingly create big plays and make split-second decisions on the fly. Young may be undersized for an NFL quarterback, but he's fearless in the pocket, can make big plays on the run, and he finds his way to get the ball out quickly, no matter the situation he's in. He's also a good decision maker with the football and doesn't often make mistakes. If you're the Panthers, you need a dynamic playmaker who you can also trust to take care of the football. Bryce Young checks off both of those boxes. Look for him to end up wearing the black and blue for Carolina as he ends up going number 1 overall. Number 2, the Texans. Will Anderson, edge rusher out of Alabama. The Texans need a little bit of everything in order to jumpstart their rebuilding process. And while there are quarterbacks on the board, we have Will Anderson, an edge rusher, going to Houston at 2nd overall for 2 reasons. No player other than veteran defensive lineman Jerry Hughes had more than 5 sacks last season, and Ohio State quarterbacks have never panned out in the NFL. Now, C.J. Stroud is shown going here in other mock drafts, but the Texans need a game-changing defensive end as well. Anderson can come in and make an impact right away, while the same might not be true for Stroud. Houston went 3-13-1 last season, and it would be a safe pick to grab a short commodity in Anderson, who was a 2-time Bronco Nagorski Award winner as the country's top overall defensive player while he was still at Alabama. Number 3, the Cardinals. Tyree Wilson, edge rusher for Texas Tech. The Cardinals need to rebuild their defensive line, following the retirement of J.J. Watt and the departures of Tristan Hill and Zach Allen. After Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson is likely the next best available edge rusher on the board. Tyree Wilson was a tackling machine last year at Texas Tech, as he led the team in tackles for loss with 13.5 and racked up 7 sacks on the way to becoming a first-team All-American for the Red Raiders. Like the Texans, the Cardinals are also coming off a dismal season and should be looking for the best available player to fill one of their many team needs. Players drafted this high are expected to come in on day 1 and make a big impact, if not change the fortunes of a team completely. Tyree Wilson could be one of those guys for Arizona and first-year head coach Jonathan Gannon. Number 4, the Colts. C.J. Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State. The Colts grabbed themselves a good one here with C.J. Stroud as they fill one of their biggest needs. During his time with the Buckeyes, Stroud went 21-4 as a starter and threw for nearly 7,800 yards, 81 touchdowns, and just 12 interceptions. He was also a 2-time Heisman finalist and led Ohio State to a come-from-behind victory in the 2022 Rose Bowl against Utah. During his 3 seasons at Ohio State, Stroud was incredibly accurate, a great decision-maker with the football, and a natural leader. If he can compete as hard in the NFL as he did throughout his career and in his final game against Georgia, he'll quickly earn the respect of his new teammates and coaches in Indianapolis, as well as endear himself to a Colts fan base that has seen their team fall on some hard times. The only major knock on Stroud this far is his unwillingness to run the football when needed. Although this may not be a big deal since the NFL is largely a league full of pocket passer quarterbacks, but the upside far outweighs the risk here. Number 5, the Seahawks. Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida. Geno Smith won't be around forever, and the Seahawks need to eventually find their quarterback of the future. From a size and build standpoint, Seattle has to consider Anthony Richardson out of Florida. He's tall like a prototypical NFL quarterback at 6 foot 4 inches, but he's also 244 pounds. He can easily throw the ball 80 yards, he has the speed of a running back, and he's incredibly athletic for a big guy. The only red flag for Richardson is that he's a bit of a project. He'll have to learn for a year or 2 until he's ready to take over. Hopefully, Geno Smith can serve as a good mentor for Richardson before he eventually leaves for his next stop. If Richardson sits and learns for a year, 2024 could truly be something special for him and the Seahawks. Number 6, Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher out of Iowa. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, you have to be excited where your franchise is headed. This pick would be another home run. Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa was a fearsome pass rusher for the Hawkeyes and is set to do the same for a Detroit Lions team coming off a winning season. Van Ness has a fantastic mix of both speed and power. He's able to bull rush opposing offensive linemen as well as turn the corner and get after the quarterback. He's 6'5", 272 pounds, and is still incredibly light on his feet for a big guy. Van Ness would also be a solid pick for the Lions to get a defensive star of the future, since Romeo Okara and Charles Harris, two other defensive linemen, are entering the final year of their contracts. With Van Ness on one end of the defensive line and Defensive Rookie of the Year Aiden Hutchinson on the other, Detroit could end up having one of the most fearsome pairs of bookend pass rushers in the entire league, if they make this pick. Number 7, the Raiders. Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. The Raiders' secondary is one of the weakest in the league this past season, and is a major area of need for Vegas in this year's draft. Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon could be a solid pick here. The Pac-12 first-teamer started first time as a freshman, first for the Colorado Buffaloes, and notched 78 tackles, 10 pass breakups, and 5.5 tackles for loss over 2 seasons. Following his transfer to Oregon, Gonzalez didn't miss a beat, racking up 45 tackles, 7 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions in his best college season. Gonzalez has both the size and speed to play the position exceptionally well for Raiders, since he's 6'2" with 4.38 speed. The scary part for the rest of the league, Gonzalez is still growing and learning how to play the position, and he's already incredibly talented at just 20 years of age. Vegas is coming off a dismal 6-11 campaign in Josh McDaniels' first season, and need all the help they can get during the rebuilding process. Gonzalez could be one of the cornerstones of a rebuilt defense, and one of the Raiders' leaders of the future as they attempt to climb their way out of the AFC West cellar. Number 8, the Falcons. Jalen Carter, defensive lineman out of Georgia. The Falcons get a steal here with the number 8 overall pick as they chose a local player in their backyard. Jalen Carter out of Georgia is an absolute wrecking machine on defense, and promises to bolster a Falcons defensive line that add experienced players Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree in free agency. Carter is rated as the top defensive lineman prospect in this draft class and is a top 5 talent. He was a key member of the Georgia Bulldogs' back-to-back national championship teams, and any team that needs a game-breaking defensive lineman will be salivating at an opportunity to add him to their lineup. However, NFL teams do their due diligence before drafting any players, and Carter was unfortunately involved in a tragic car crash that killed a teammate and team staff member hours after the Bulldogs' national championship victory parade. It's unclear whether or not this will have any effect on where he is drafted next Thursday, but the Falcons may decide that Carter's enormous upside outweighs the cost of any baggage that he may bring with him. Number 9, the Bears. Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Chicago's 2 biggest needs in this year's draft are finding a pass rusher and getting quarterback Justin Fields some protection up front. Several other mock drafts forecast that this draft is full of quality pass rushers beyond the first round, so the Bears grab a quality offensive tackle here in Paris Johnson Jr., a former Ohio State Buckeye. Paris Johnson Jr. started every game this past season at left tackle and made quite an impression, earning All-American honors while at Ohio State. He can be a versatile offensive lineman, as he's played both the guard and tackle positions consistently well in college. He's extremely physically strong, has quick feet, and can mirror opposing defensive linemen very well. When the opportunity is there, do not be surprised if he pancakes opposing defensive linemen either. Now, Paris Johnson Jr. is very raw and is a bit of a project. He also needs to work on his technique more instead of just relying on his athletic ability to protect the quarterback. But if the Bears grow and develop him, he could be an anchor on a growing and improving offensive line and spend many years protecting another former Buckeye in Justin Fields. Number 10, the Eagles. Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. Some mock drafts had the Eagles taking a defensive player, but if you're Howie Roseman and the Eagles, grabbing Bijan Robinson, the star running back for the Texas Longhorns, would be extremely tempting. Robinson is an extremely effective running back, and he rushed for nearly 1,600 yards and 18 touchdowns in his final season with Texas. Not only is he a stout runner, but Robinson also has shown the ability to be a solid pass catcher in space as well. Last season with Texas, Robinson caught 19 passes for 314 yards. If the Eagles draft him, they believe they can further develop his ability as a pass catcher out of the backfield. Usually a running back isn't drafted this high unless they are a franchise-altering player. But in the case of the Eagles, if they do take Bijan Robinson, they will be able to keep Philadelphia's Super Bowl window open just a little bit longer. If you're Howie Roseman in the Eagles front office, you must strike while the iron is still hot. Taking Robinson 10th overall allows him to do that. Where these players ultimately end up is anyone's guess, but one thing's for sure, every player on this list can elevate the franchise they're drafted by to new heights. For struggling teams, they can get another chance to be competitive and level the playing field. For teams that are already successful, drafting a player in the top 10 lets them stay on a roll for a little while longer and have multiple shots at capturing a Super Bowl championship. Tune in to the opening night of the NFL Draft on April 27th to see if we got it right. In the meantime, like, follow, and subscribe to Sports Sensei to get more of the content you enjoy. Thanks for watching.